Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. This is Soi Linky, which runs from Third Road down to Soi Buakhao, and then if you went across Soi Buakhao you'd come to the top end of Soi Diana, which runs down to Second Road. So we're going to walk down here until we get to Buakhao, then we're going to turn left, we're going to go along until we get to Soi Boomerang, which is the Gents Club Soi. We'll have a walk around there, and then we'll come back up Buakhao, and then we'll walk all the way back up Soi 25 or Soi Pothole. There's La Poste, yeah, still popular, but with expats, not so much with tourists. They don't know about it. Anyway, so we'll just continue all the way down here, as I said, while we have a chat. And the title is, are you too old or too young for Pattaya? And both are relevant. I mean, most people fall between the two, don't they? But we'll have a chat about it, because there's a few interesting things that I wanted to bring up. Anyway, so it's just that someone the other day was chatting and asking me what age do I think is the perfect age to come to Pattaya. And it got me thinking about it, about ages, and what ages guys actually are when they come here. But many things have changed in the last particularly 12 years, which is since smartphones first came to Thailand. The first Galaxy 1 came to Thailand 12 years ago. Before that there were a few iPhones about, but they were so expensive no one bought them in Thailand. So that was the big change. And what I mean by that is that's when the younger people started to notice Thailand. You know, before that it was just all old people. Oh, not old people, but older guys. You know, retired guys. Anyway, if you go beyond that, then beyond that time of about 12 years, maybe a little more, you never saw anything except older guys. That's all you ever saw. And there's just as many younger guys under 40 all over the place. I mean, I know now is a quiet time, which is the depth of low season, if you like, but it's still the ratio still seems to be similar. You're still getting quite a lot of younger guys coming, but they don't tend to go to the same places. So that's what we're going to have a chat about as well. There's someone having a party here, somebody's birthday probably, on the right, you see. So whenever you see the balloons and the outside music and everything, you know, yeah, it's a big party. So it'll be a birthday. It's bound to be. Anyway, let's get on with what we're saying. Okay, are you ready to go yet? You ready for the chat yet, guys? We finished looking? Now then, we'll start the chat because it's about young or old, but we'll start the chat talking about older people. Are you too old to come to Pattaya? Now that really depends on what you're coming here for, besides what you're thinking about. I mean, there are other benefits to living here if you're elderly and physically not able to participate in the obvious pleasures. There are still benefits like the warm temperature all the year round. You have no winter here. And cheap pharmacies, and they are very cheap and very good, and very knowledgeable pharmacists, some of them, they're really good, and cheap clinics. I mean, you know, you go to a clinic, see a doctor, it's 1,000 baht, which is peanuts really, you know. And then another thing which a lot of older guys, particularly infirm ones, take advantage of is the cost of cheap personal carers. Now compared to the West, it's probably maybe 20% of the cost, you know, of a personal carer. What you really, that's a major factor if you're infirm. Then you've got cheap accommodation, you've got cheap food and drink, from supermarkets. I mean, if you want to have a whiskey or beer, you go to the supermarket or 7-Eleven. You know, I mean, you don't have to go pay bar prices. Particularly, especially the restaurants. The restaurants here are very cheap if you eat Thai food, or even some of the places like Cheap Charles and what have you. I mean, it's still very decent price compared to the West, as long as it's sensible. You don't go eating steak in those big, nice, fancy steak restaurants on Sardana every day, do you? You know. But there is only one real negative, and that is something that you need to plan for, and that is the cost of health insurance. But if you go and see a good insurance agent before you get too old, because you need to be in the system with the health insurance before you get too old, otherwise they just refuse you. If you're already with them, then they will go to much later ages, you know, much higher ages. So that all needs budgeting for, but it's available, and it's expensive. Yes, it's expensive, but you know, and your other choice is to save money, put it aside in a bank or something, and buy gold with it, whatever, and then just think, well, that is my health insurance. So put $1 million baht aside or whatever, and say that's my health insurance, and don't touch that. And then if something happens, you have the money to pay the hospital. You know, that's another way you do it. I mean, people call it self-insurance. It's various people do it different ways, but that's one way to do it. This, by the way, we just turned right by Playgirls there. This is Boomerang, which is the Gents Club soy. There's a whole bunch of Gents Clubs on here. All of them. Yeah, I've done various different videos on the different ones here. I mean, I've done down the right there's Club Fate. I've done a video on that. Further down there's Heaven Above. I've done a video on that. You know, so these are this is highly recommended, this road. Really highly recommended. And it's so easy to get there. You know, that's one of the reasons that you stay in Bacau, or you stay in Bacau area. So these type of places are within walking distance, or just jump on a 10 baht bus. I mean, that's really one of the huge advantages of living here. Something like this is available. If you're into that type of thing, I'm sure you're not really. But let's go back to the chat, shall we? Now, supposing that you're not that old, okay, say you're in your 50s, and you really then do have the opportunity to live the dream, really. But there's one, again, a restricting factor. There is always one to living your dream, and that is money, right? I mean, if you're a healthy, active 50-year-old, and you're taking a walk down like we are now, like Bacau or even Soi 6, especially Soi 6, every evening, you could end up going through a small fortune in no time at all. I mean, if you're on a vacation with money you've saved up, it really doesn't matter. You know, enjoy yourself. But we're talking about somebody living here. Then some severe budgeting is required, and some personal control, some self-control is required when you live here. Talking about budgeting, actually, that just reminded me about a friend of mine, an American guy called Mike, who had some enforced budgeting put upon him. It's quite funny. Let me tell you what happened to him. Yeah, so Mike was walking by the edge of a swimming pool, and he stopped to step in, but he slipped, and he landed on his crutch, right on the corner of a concrete step. Luckily, it missed his tackle, all right, but the concrete corner of the step dug right into his leg, and it ripped the tendon. He was in absolute agony, you know, and he ended up for a month in a wheelchair, then another month on crutches. and then a further month on a walking stick. And the fourth month, he could walk around relatively normally, but still couldn't bum as the movement was too painful. Eventually, after 4 full months, he was pretty much back to normal. So what has this story got to do with budgeting? Well, for 4 months, Mike couldn't bum. Okay, so how much money do you think he saved in that 4 months? Because we had a laugh about it, and I asked him, and he got his calculator out on his phone and he worked it out. I mean, he normally has a mixture of ST and LT, you know, and anyway, after he worked it out, he reckoned that he'd saved about 100,000 Thai baht in that 4-month period, which is nearly $3,000. So what did he do? He went down to the nearest Honda dealer and he bought himself a brand new Honda PCX motorbike with the money he'd saved. Enforced budgeting, yeah? Mind you, not something you want, but it happened. Anyway, going back to what we're talking about living here. Now, if you say in your 50s, then you'll find that the age of the girl who will be attracted to you, which is necessary, will be in her 30s. It didn't used to be like that, but since so many young guys under 40 are now coming to Pattaya, what you find is that the very young girls in their early 20s, they don't want to be seen out and about with an older guy. They are happy to do ST, no problem, when no one sees them, but they don't want to lose face being seen out and about with their peers, like peer pressure again, out and about with an old guy when their friends are all with younger guys under 40. You can understand that. And the only exception to that, which you will see, and you do see now and then, is an older guy with a really nice young girl who is paying an absolute fortune. A rich guy, and he's paying a fortune. And you do see couples like that around now and then. So what age do I think is the perfect age to come to live here? Bearing in mind that you also have to include the financial side and security from that point of view. Now, I know one guy who is ex-US military, and he just retired here with a good military pension at the age of 45. Now, he's not old enough yet for a retirement visa, so he bought himself an elite visa. He has the money, yeah? And he moved here this year. He doesn't smoke, he doesn't drink very much, and he loves to go to the Muscle Factory gym in Pattaya every other day. And although he's actually 45, he looks late 30s. Takes care of himself, you know. Now the question was, what do I think is the perfect age to move here? And I would say that this guy is very close to a perfect lifestyle as you can get, you know. Especially when you factor in something like, which a pretty 26-year-old freelancer told me, because I asked her if she had an age limit on guys who she would go out with and be seen out and about with. And her reply was yes, about 40. Which means that this American guy we're talking about, who looks under 40, has every girl's age group available to him, all the way down to, say, 20. But he still has financial security. Not everyone is that lucky. So what about the rest of us? So just going back to what we're talking about, which is guys over 50 who can get a retirement visa, coming here to retire. What sort of age would a lady that, or ladies, that they would be associating with, what would they be? Now, ladies in Thailand all seem to be of the opinion that once they pass the age of 30, they're starting to get old, and they tend to modify their behaviour away from the party lifestyle which they had in their 20s. Now, this is a good thing for the expat retirees in their 50s and 60s, as it means that they have younger girlfriends, or geeks if you prefer to go down that route, than it would be possible in the West. Now, as this video is about age, I think it would be appropriate to share with you once again the formula for the perfect age for your Thai girlfriend. Now, what that is the girl should be half of your age plus 7. Now, this formula works for any age group. You try it. Just try it on your current Thai partner or anyone you know who has a Thai partner. You'll find it's pretty much spot on all the time. And I often get emails from guys in their 50s and 60s saying they don't like the direction that their country is going in and wish they could turn the clock back to when life was simpler and they had much more personal freedom. Well, guys, come to Thailand, because it's one of the things which I love about it here. The simplicity of life reminds me of life in the 1980s or 1990s. So you guys who had your first dates around those sort of times, those sort of years, will feel right at home here. Also, cash is still king here, you'll be glad to know. So if you're in your 50s, then where are the best places to go in Pattaya for a bit of fun? Yeah, bear in mind what I said about girls' ages. The best age for you if you're in your 50s is to go to a place where the girls are in the 30s. So where do you find those? Gentlemen's clubs. By far the best collection of girls in the 30s are in gentlemen's clubs. I mean, having said that, there are quite a lot of girls in gents clubs who are in their 20s, or late 20s, but an awful lot are in the 30s. Now, if you're older, you may prefer beer bars where the staff are nearer your age, you know. So what if you're a younger guy, under 40? Then your hunting ground is probably going to be nightclubs, which are full of young freelancers. Places like iBar, Insomnia, Lucifer, Republic, those sort of places. And of course the apps like Thai Friendly, where the young girls will prefer younger guys. So if you're younger and you're under 40, then also besides the nightclubs, where would you also like to go? And my suggestion is Soy 6, because there's plenty of young girls there. By the way, Soy 6 has changed a little with its timings. A few years ago it used to get very busy around sort of 1 p.m. in the afternoon. It used to be an afternoon place. But these days, forget it really at that sort of time. Even up until 3 o'clock in the afternoon, it's really not busy. You really now, you'll get ignored by the girls at that sort of time, 3 o'clock, because they're busy eating or doing their makeup, or it's not really until at least 4 p.m. That it starts to get a little bit bit of action down there. So I personally wouldn't bother going to Soy 6 until about 6 p.m. these days. But if you're under 40, you'll get screamed at all the way down the street. If you get that far, you probably won't actually. You'll get dragged into a bar. Now you're probably wondering why I've missed out go-go bars as a place to go. Well, all the ones that I've been in recently have been full of Koreans spending crazy money, with just the odd falang dotted about with draft beer. I no longer feel that it's sort of a recommended venue, to be honest. Now, the second part of the video title is about, are you too young for Pattaya? Now, this is a question, an interesting concept, because I've always wondered if coming to Pattaya as, say, a 22-year-old inexperienced guy would irretrievably corrupt you as far as learning how relationships work. I mean, would you then go back home and wonder why Western women don't act in the same way? What do you think, guys? Would it have changed your life if you had discovered Pattaya at the age of 22? I mean, I do see some very young looking guys around now, and I can't help wondering what effect Pattaya is having on a mind which is still developing, particularly with regard to the guy's ability to develop a long-term relationship like marriage in his future after he's been and spent time in a place like this. I'd like your comments on that. I think it's an interesting subject to comment on. And to put it in a very simple way, would Pattaya screw up a young, impressionable guy's mind? That's the question. Right, so where are we? We're at the end of Pothole. Looks like we've timed it quite well. So guys, please, as usual, please subscribe, like, share, ring the bell. And I've just opened another new Soy 6 uncut video, which you guys love. Obviously, you're very, very popular. Right, okay, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.